I'm Gerry Walker, and we're still here, bitch. Hey everybody, SHB fam, welcome to Still Here, Bitch. It's our Christmas Eve episode, and you may be noticing something a little different. A la, you can see me. Yes, we have decided to go full on visual with the podcast, and we're hoping that you enjoy it. So this episode is so special. I first came to know my guest today when I attended this year's On Aging conference by the American Society on Aging. She was on a panel and she was speaking about caregiving, and she had a great angle, especially as it pertains to the LGBTQ plus community, specifically those over 40. I was so mesmerized that, and she will vouch for this, I chased her down after the episode and begged her to be on my podcast, even though we hadn't recorded a single episode yet. And she's a very busy lady, but we've got her now, and it couldn't be a better time to talk about caregiving, as these conversations tend to come up around this time of year for many cultures. So, my guest, Mary Ann Adams, MSW, is the founder and executive director of ZAMI NOBLA, National Organization of Black Lesbians on Aging. Mary Ann also founded and developed the Audre Lorde Scholarship Fund, an international fund that has awarded over $250,000 in scholarship monies and expenses to out LGBTQ scholars of color. With over 25 years of experience in public health, social work education, and activism, she has led pivotal research on HIV/AIDS, health disparities, and the healthcare needs of aging Black lesbians. She was the principal investigator for a critical study exploring the healthcare needs of aging Black lesbians, and collaborated with Johns Hopkins University on research related to breast cancer screening among Black sexual minority women. Currently, Mary Ann is a co-investigator in a nationwide study with Dr. Tonya Petit at Duke University, examining the impact of COVID-19 on older lesbians. Adams has served as commissioner and board chair for the East Point Public Housing Authority and with Atlanta's LGBTQ Advisory Board, Emory University, and National Health Initiatives. She was honored as one of Out Georgia's most influential LGBTQ plus Georgians in 2020, and in 2023, she received the National Black Justice Coalition's legendary Elders Wisdom Award and was featured at Atlanta's LGBTQ History Project in an in-person and online exhibition honoring LGBTQ plus luminaries who have changed the landscape of Atlanta's queer community. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Mary Ann Adams.
Thank you so much for having me, Gerry. I've listened to the show, and I am really honored to be on the show. And thank you. Thank you for making visible LGBTQ older adults. Oftentimes, we are not in these spaces, and I really, really do thank you and honor you for your intentionality around this issue.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored. The honor is all mine, seriously. This is gonna be a good show, y'all. Hang on, get some popcorn, whatever you need. Let's figure it all out. So, Mary Ann, let's start out by, please tell our listeners, how do you identify on the LGBTQ plus spectrum?
I am a very proud L, as in lesbian, on the LGBTQ spectrum.
All right. And how do you identify age-wise?
I am 70 years old as of September 25th.
Is that Virgo or Libra?
Libra. I have a lot of Virgo tendencies, but I identify as Libra.
Okay, cool. Let's start with this. Can you tell us, there's so much, but tell us just a bit about ZAMI NOBLA and how that came to be.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to talk about ZAMI NOBLA. So ZAMI NOBLA, the National Organization of Black Lesbians on Aging, was founded by me in 2011 in Metro Atlanta. Prior to ZAMI NOBLA, we were ZAMI, Atlanta's premier organization for lesbians of African descent. And one of the things I noticed over the years is that lesbians over 40 were disappearing from the Atlanta scene, from spaces that they previously frequent. And for those of you who know anything about Atlanta, it tends to be very youth-oriented, the LGBTQIA communities. A lot of older LGBTQ adults were going into spaces and they were not welcomed. They perceived that they were not welcomed, and actually they were not welcomed. They were actually told, why are you here? This is not your space, you're too old. And so they went in. And we know what happens, Gerry, when you go into your homes, you become very socially isolated. You become very insular. And we know oftentimes what mental health issues can ensue from social isolation. And so there were those of us who started talking about this. These are spaces that many of us helped to create in Metro Atlanta and across this country.
Yes.
Absolutely. And so I thought, we need to create an organization. We need to make sure that we provide visibility and representation, and that for those of us who are still unsafe, who feel unsafe, who are still closeted, because we know many of us still are, we wanted to be able to provide a safe space. And so I started ZAMI NOBLA. We were very intentional about the name. We wanted to make sure that we were not ashamed to be aging. It's a natural human process. And that we also wanted to make sure that this was a space that was represented in terms of the Black, lesbian, the feminist, the social justice. We are an organization that is committed to building power and community and voice and visibility to Black lesbians over the age of 40, living anywhere in the country. We have state chapters in North Carolina, Georgia, and we have members at large on the West Coast, California, Midwest, Illinois, East New York, Deep South, Alabama. So we are everywhere.
Yes, you are. And let me tell you, that's why I felt so aligned with you, just even from the audience, listening to you speak, because what you said, I echo it. That's the reason Still Here Bitch exists today, because I like to talk every now and then on the show about intergenerational communication. And when we're talking about ageism, not to get on my little soapbox here, I believe that, I do believe, Marianne, that ageism cannot be eradicated without the inclusion of all of us, not just the ones over 40, not just the ones under 40. It has to be all of us. So the fact that you are giving voice and reclaiming space for Black lesbians in our youth-oriented culture is amazing. We'll be right back after this. Are you feeling isolated from community? Might you be seeking an LGBTQ service center where you can find support, resources, and other people who identify how you do? Want to play cards? Join a gay queer softball league, a knitting circle, or just sit around and talk current events without spiraling? Too much? Centerlink is a nonprofit organization of LGBTQ centers and other LGBTQ organizations serving their local and regional communities throughout the country and the world. Their mission is to strengthen, support, and connect LGBTQ people with their community centers. They currently are affiliated with over 375 member LGBTQ centers worldwide, providing essential services, promoting growth, wellness, and connectivity in their communities. And they have a free database on their website that helps you connect with the LGBTQ centers that are nearest your location. Go to www.lgbtqcenters.org to learn more. That's Centerlink at www.lgbtqcenters.org. decoding.org. So many times we hear these conversations about the LGBTQ culture being youth-oriented, but it's slanted towards males, because males are about the youth and males are about the beauty and men desire the young, beautiful bodies and what. But to hear you talk, this is great because this exists across the LGBTQ spectrum, right?
Absolutely, Gerry. Certainly, folks my age and certainly younger and older, many of us were socialized in the United States. We grew up hearing these ageist messages. You remember this, I've fallen and I can't get up. And, old people wear Depends. And we are depicted often as folk who are diseased and decrepit. And so we are trying to shift that paradigm. Not to say that many of us don't have diseases. Of course we do. But there are also folk who don't, who just because you're aging does not mean that you're not healthy, that you're not thriving. It doesn't mean you have dementia because you turned 60 years old. And I think we need all of the messages. And I think it's our work to do. And I just want to say a bit about the multi-generational conversation. Back in April, we were able to conduct a series of conversations in Atlanta, Wilmington, North Carolina, and Nashville, Tennessee on the same day at the same time with the same questions. And these were panel discussions. And in Atlanta, the series is called Do Tell, Multi-Generational Conversations with Black same gender loving women. Atlanta, it was ages 26 to 82. And Wilmington, 30 to 70, and Nashville around the same age, because we definitely need each other. And we have these conversations on our YouTube channel because I want some young queer kid who might be feeling alone, who might not have any representation where they are, in my case in Mississippi, to be able to access that YouTube channel and see that there's possibility, that there is hope, that we are here. To see somebody from 26 to 82 in conversation with each other, Gerry, that's power. That is powerful stuff. And we can do it, and we will continue to do it. Absolutely.
Still here, Rich fans, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? This is so appropriate that Marianne is our first visual guest because she's given us all the things. Okay, so what led to your interest in social work and activism in the first place? What was the moment or moments?
There were a plethora of moments. I can't really specify any one particular moment. I grew up in a very poor family of 10 children in North Mississippi, oftentimes with a mother who was single, who was struggling. And I was a very introverted child. I was a bookworm. I was often alone and lonely and just full of angst. And across the street from me was Miss Savannah, who was 65 years old. At that time, I thought she was ancient. And she was known in the neighborhood as a mean Black woman, right? But one of the things I knew about her was that she owned her own home. She had educated her children. They had all become school teachers. And she lived by herself. I never saw any visitors or anybody. And so we befriended each other. And I would spend my summers with Miss Savannah. And she taught me how to make biscuits. And she told me these stories. And she gave me books to read. And she really encouraged me. And as I grew, I just started to do whatever she needed me to do. As she got sicker and older and she was aging and she was by herself. And I was that great grandkid of hers. And I think it started my caregiving. I didn't call it that. I didn't have the language for that, but certainly that's what it was in retrospect. And so I think just had empathy for her, Gerry. I mean, and then I've always been a person who just had empathy for people, who cared about people. And then when I went off to the University of Mississippi, I majored in sociology and social work and would go back to see Miss Savannah, spend all my time. I was a Cub Scout then for the third, volunteering. I mean, I spent more time volunteering. I'm surprised I didn't flunk out the first semester, seriously. I just volunteered. I just had a call to do that. And so that's really, I think, what started my interest in social work, just my relationship with Miss Savannah, who took an interest in a kid like me.
So, my next question literally on this list is, how did you enter the arena of caregiving? And you gave us that. It sounds like Miss Savannah, your relationship with her was quite the catalyst for that. And, so how do your social work and activism, particularly on behalf of women and LGBTQ folks, how do they inform your philosophy and practice when it comes to advising folks about caregiving?
Through my lived experience. When I was 25 years old, my mother died of ovarian cancer. And I mentioned earlier that I was one of 10 children. I was the second oldest, and in many Black communities, that means you're the oldest because my brother was the oldest. And so as a girl, I really was relegated those tasks that older siblings usually take on. And so when my mother died, I became the legal guardian of my 3 siblings who were 9, 11, and 13, and I was 25. And I cared for them until the youngest one went off to college, and that's when I moved to Atlanta. And so I know what it's like to have no resources, to work 2 jobs, to struggle, to not have much help, and not know how to ask for help. And so for me, again, coming into Atlanta, taking on the mantle that I took on in public health and social work and activism was second nature to me. It's what I'd always done. And I wanted to take what I'd learned and was still learning to try to help whoever needed that help.
Thank you. I want to continue with caregiving because, like I told everyone, you blew my mind that day when you were on the panel. I'd love for you to talk about what you feel might be some of the major barriers to caregiving that you've seen specific to families who have LGBTQ plus individuals amongst their numbers.
Absolutely. Well, we do know that informal caregiving is a multifaceted activity that's performed by individuals across all ages, family circumstances, sexual identities, and gender identities. And we know that gender roles and tradition really influence caregiver norms. And I was looking at some research not too long ago that showed that an estimated 65% of women versus 39% of men provide unpaid care to kin or non-kin. I'd like to say that again, Gerry. An estimated 65% of women versus 39% of men provide unpaid care to kin or non-kin. And we know what causes this. We're looking at structural inequality, right? That influences how women experience care work. We're talking about racism, misogyny, homophobia, and racialized ageism. We also know that caregiving looks very different in the LGBTQ community. We know we're not a monolithic community. We know that the L, the G, the B, the T, the Q, the I, A, certainly experience caregiving very differently. And oftentimes it looks like mutual aid. We will take in a member of our community that we might not even know, but because they're estranged from family, they're estranged from friends, they have no resources. Somebody will put out a call, Gerry, and if we have a bed or a floor, we will welcome them in, because we've experienced that oftentimes ourselves. We also know that in many of our families, that if you are the oldest, or if you are a member of your family who might be first generation college educated, you might not have children. You may be perceived because you are queer, that you have more resources, that you have more time, that your partner is not important, even though you may be married. And so you might be estranged from your family for 20 years. But if grandmama gets sick, they're going to call you because Jane, oh, you know, Jane got the resources. So and because many of us, and I'm just going to talk about Black women here, you know, take on this whole archetype of the superwoman. You know, we might drop everything because we feel that it's our responsibility. We feel obligated. And we go into those settings, Gerry, and we go into those settings with no resolution, even though we haven't spoken, you know, no conversation, you know, no healing, nothing. We just go in and we take on the mantle, and our families expect us to leave our partners behind. They don't expect us to go back home to visit. They don't welcome our partners into the home, even though we've left everything to come in. Yes. And so it's fraught with a lot of resentment, a lot of tension, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. And if the family member dies, heaven forbid, then we have no say in the funeral arrangements. We can't bring our partners to the funeral oftentimes. And so there's so much that needs to be unpacked in these situations called caregiving. Because there's nobody to care for us.
Yep. Yes. Mic drop.
We'll be right back after this. BetterHelp is the largest therapy platform in the world, and it's 100% online. They change the way you approach your mental health and help you tackle life's challenges by providing accessible and affordable care. With BetterHelp, you can message a professional therapist anytime, anywhere. Go to BetterHelp.com for more.
Marianne, you just gave us a lot to think about when it comes to LGBTQ individuals in caregiving and the relationships that we have with our families that we're trying to navigate. And oftentimes that's a huge task in itself. And you said that there's a lot of healing that has to occur that has not happened sometimes. So given that landscape, what do you recommend to folks who do identify as LGBTQ and who are called back home, if you will, to help out or to execute the caregiving duties? What would you advise them to do first? Now, we understand that, you know, someone needs care. So that's a given. But while this is going on, or before this happens, or while it's all being planned out, what would you advise, or maybe like the first one or two things that should be done, conversations that need to be had, or what have you, moving into that space or that time frame of care?
I would advise the first thing to do is to do some self-reflection. And that self-reflection would look like, can I really do this? Am I the one to do it? Have I done the necessary work that I need to do in terms of my own healing to be able to go into a situation that I perceive as toxic? Am I able to take all of myself into a situation that I have not been in 10 years? Can my mental health allow me to stay in that situation should I go there? I think that even though there certainly is a need, it's okay to say, no, I can't do this. And sometimes I think we would be really surprised if we say no, that somebody else will step up and say yes, that we are not the end all be all. And that sometimes it's okay to say, I can't do this. I can't do this. Should you find yourself unable to do that, and maybe you want to go into the situation. Let's say, okay, you do. It's important to be able to have some support. what we were able to do, ZAMI NOBLA, during COVID was to have a lot of virtual programming. And anecdotally, we've had our members to say that was a lifeline for them to be able to go on to social media and to access the podcast, or to access the YouTube programming, or to be able to be there doing live time, and to be in a space with your family, your chosen family, where you didn't have to explain who you were, where you were accepted, where there was common ground and common language and love, was just so healing just for that time. And a lot of caregivers don't have a lot of time. We understand that, which is why we try to make sure that people can register for programs and they can access it later in the comfort of their bed or the bathroom or the back porch or walking down the street. And they talked about the fact that they were able to access these virtual programs, Gerry. We even had a New Year's Eve party over Zoom. We had a lot of old Black lesbians performers who've been performing in the women's community for 30, 40 years to perform, to play guitar and to sing. Karen Williams, who's a comic, the first Black lesbian comic out in this country, was performing for us. So people could laugh, because we need to laugh. I also want to say this, Gerry, one of the things that some of the data that we collected showed that a lot of our sexual minority women are experiencing depression as caregivers. And they often are not able to talk about this, and they certainly don't get the support or the therapy or the counseling that they need. The 3 data sets that ZAMI NOBLA has done, one of the most salient issues that has emerged from these 3 data sets, Gerry, is the need for holistic mental health interventions. What does that look like? It looks like laughter. It looks like dance. It looks like good sex. It looks like cooking, eating. It looks like quilting. It looks like intergenerational spaces where you're helping women and men who have children with their homework, where you're able to give them pass down the advice and the things that you learn. It looks like all of that. And those are the interventions that we don't currently have that will help us with our holistic mental health.
Oh, okay.
I've just been selected to join the American Society on Aging's Ageism and Culture Advisory Council. The American Society on Aging unites, empowers, and champions everyone striving to improve aging. Since 1954, ASA has developed and led the largest, most diverse community of professionals working in aging in America, and as a result, ASA has become the go-to source to cultivate leadership, advance knowledge, and strengthen the skills of our members and others who work with and on behalf of older adults. To learn more about ASA, go to asaging.org.
I'd like to revisit a remark you just made when talking about viewing mental care holistically. And you mentioned laughter, which laughter, joy, those are things that whenever I create a vision board, they're always on there. Just always on there. Peace, yes. Laughter, joy. Yes. I mean, like, seriously. Laughter is medicinal. You also mentioned good sex. So, Still Here, Bitch is a relationship show, right? And we focus on relationships between folks. And I'd like to know, what's one major issue that you feel affects older, by that I mean over 40, older LGBTQ plus people's sex/dating lives, and how might we mitigate that?
I would say discernment. I think sometimes we go into relationships expecting the other person to be our end all, be all, do all, and to provide the healing for us that we have not given or done for ourselves. We go into these relationships Gerry, expecting that we're going to change the other person. And we're not going to do that. For me, it's important to find somebody that I'm equally yoked with. And as a heathen, I know that's probably biblical, and it's certainly something, having grown up in the Black Baptist church, that certainly still resonates with me to this day. It's absolutely, I want to be able to like my partner. We need to be able to I like my partner. We've been together for 17 years, and we are equally yoked. We are helpmates to each other. As you witnessed earlier, we absolutely can have a good time still laughing and reading to each other. And we're actually, she's legally blind, so I'm reading to her and she's reciting poetry to me because she's an amazing poet. But, that's important. And so I've heard people say, I don't know how to meet somebody. Well, first you have to meet yourself. And once you meet yourself, it becomes easier to be comfortable in spaces. Oftentimes we will put on an event and somebody will tell me I didn't come because, I don't like the way I look, or I don't like the way I sound. Baby, at 50, this is you. We have to start being comfortable with who we are. There are two things we all have in common. And I say this every opportunity I get, and thank you for providing the opportunity. The two things that we all have in common, Gerry, is that we're all older today than we were yesterday, and we're all going to die. What are we going to do with the in-between? I'm aging, Gerry. That's a fact. It's indisputable. I'm 70 years old, Gerry. That's a fact. It's indisputable. People say, you don't look 70. Well, this is what 70 looks like. I don't think it's a compliment when people say, this is what 70 looks like, Gerry. If we all tell the truth about what it looks like, more people would know what it looks like. This is what it looks like.
So even though this show is about folks over 40, it is not just for folks over 40. My hope is that younger individuals also tune in to get tips on how to prepare for their futures, or at least get a peek into how their future could look, what they might want to do, which routes they might want to take. And therefore, each episode, I ask my guest, knowing what you have learned, and you've learned a lot, and you are teaching us today, but knowing what you've learned, what relationship advice, be that about dating, family, intimate partner, work, church, or people in general, systems, what relationship advice would you give your 25-year-old self today?
If I look around my circle and everybody looks like me, they're all the same age as I am, the same gender, the same sexual identity, the same social economic status, the same geographical status, then I need to shift that, Gerry. I tell a lot of folk younger than me that you need to expand your circle. You need to have some old people in your circle. You need to have folks younger than you in your circle. You really need to be able to take from all of those spaces. You need to be able to utilize your resources. And you have resources from all those different people. And it's okay to know what you don't know. None of us know everything. None of us know most things. We are still learning every day, or we should be. I want to learn something large or small until I leave my body, until I leave this planet. And so sometimes, when we're young and sometimes when we're old, we think we know everything, Gerry. Guess what? We don't. We don't know most things. And so I would tell my young 25-year-old, even Marianne, you full of it. You full of bravado. You don't know nothing. You really don't know anything. And you're struggling now, Marianne, raising these 3 children because you're afraid to ask for help. You know, you got Miss So-and-so down the street, Marianne, who said, baby, if you need some, knock on my door. But I'm proud because I'm a Black woman. I don't need any help. I can do, no, actually, Marianne, you needed a lot of help. And so you should have knocked on Miss Savannah's door. And you should have said, Miss Savannah, I don't know nothing about raising no children. I need you to help me. Because I didn't, Gerry. I knew nothing. And so all the mistakes, all the times I fell down and hurt my knees, guess what? I didn't have to. If I had just utilized my resources, knew what I didn't know, asked for help, and had people older than me and younger than me in my circle. So that's what I would tell them.
Yeah, be curious. Ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And be inclusive in your circle, with your circle. Yes, love it. ZAMI NOBLA. And you are a tremendous gift. You're, you know, such a fantastic resource. I should say resources. I mean, it runs the gamut. And you mentioned your social media. Before we get off of here, I want to know how our listeners can find you and ZAMI NOBLA online, social media. Please give us all the stuff.
We have a website, www.zaminobla.org. We have a YouTube channel. We need to definitely increase our subscribers. So please like us and subscribe. ZAMI NOBLA YouTube channel. We have an Instagram, of course, ZAMI NOBLA Instagram. We have TikTok, ZAMI NOBLA TikTok. We have Threads. We have all the things, Gerry. Contrary to the fact that old people are not on social media, these old people are on social media, these old lesbians are on social media. We have about, oh my goodness, we probably have 5 groups on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page. We have a page called the Purple Thumb for women who like to play in the dirt, for gardeners, because many of us are gardeners. Oh, and of course, the podcast. We cannot forget the ZAMI NOBLA podcast, Gerry. You can find, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find the ZAMI NOBLA podcast. We have 60 episodes. We started 6 years ago. And the podcast is a sound source for Black lesbian history. These are oral histories. It's an audio podcast. And the interviewees range in age from 31 to 89. Our oldest member would be 90 next year. She lives in New York City, Dr. Wilhelmina Perry. Amazing. I want to be like her when I grow up. And as an addition to the podcast, we've just started the ZAMI NOBLA Community Archivist Program, where we're training 16 of our members to collect our organizational archival materials. And we all are trying to interview every member in ZAMI NOBLA. So we're teaching them how to do these oral histories, how to do oral interviews. And we purchase everybody a VH1 Zoom recorder. And so everyone has one of those. And so we are creating our own archives, Gerry, because nobody can tell our story but us. And we're not leaving our stories to other people to tell. We are telling our own stories because we can.
Say that. Say that. Marianne Adams, this is what I want to do really quickly. We've been saying ZAMI NOBLA, ZAMI NOBLA, ZAMI NOBLA. I just want to spell it for folks, because I want everyone listening to just run to ZAMI NOBLA online. Check out everything that Marianne's been talking about. It truly is. It's just a wealth of information and data and resources. It's ZAMI and then NOBLA.
Yes, thank you for spelling that. Thank you so much. And we have an ukulele program. Don't forget that.
Oh, yes. So, Marianne, wow. Thank you so much for being on Still Here, Bitch, for taking the time. I do know how busy you are. And how in demand your time is. So thank you so much for taking time with us here on the show to just give us some thought, give us some food for thought. And so everyone, once again, Marianne Adams, she's an activist, she's a social worker, she is founder of ZAMI NOBLA, and I'm going to ask her after the show if she'll be my mentor, but I'll have news later on how that went. But thank you again, Marianne. And
thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor for me to be here. I want to shout out our members of our board and our creative director, Angela Denise Davis.
Yes, I met Angela when I met you, and yeah, also incredible. So everyone, thanks for tuning in to our December episode, our 8th episode of Still Here, Bitch. And we've got a lot planned for you in 2025. I got some surprises up my sleeve that you might find quite interesting. So stay with us, continue to like, share, and subscribe. And as we like to say, go out and get you some joy.
Thanks for tuning in to Still Here, Bitch. Remember to follow us on the socials. Please like and subscribe or get somebody to show you how. And we'll see you next time on Still Here, Bitch.